Welcome back to the 5-Minute Youth Ministry Coach. We're here to help you lead students with wisdom, empathy, and gospel-centered confidence that you're going to have. This episode is episode 5 in our successful small group series. And today we are talking about a topic that every group leader is going to face at some point. And that's, how do I coax out the quiet kid? How do I coax out the quiet kid? But before we jump into strategies for that, let's start with something that's very important. There's something that a friend of mine who is a counselor, who's an incredible adoptive parent of several special needs kids would say. He would say, behavior should make us curious. Behavior should make us curious. We know a student's quiet, but we don't always know why they're quiet. So quietness isn't a flaw, and it's not something that we need to cure, but we do need to get curious and not controlling about it. So a student may be quiet for many different reasons. They might just be shy. They could be socially anxious and overwhelmed in group settings. I've met kids who lock up when there's more than 2 or 3 people around, but when they're in their own home or with their friends, they won't stop talking. It could be that they've been hurt or humiliated when they've spoke up in the past. They might be going through something difficult with another student that's in the group, and they might be going through difficult stuff at home or at school. But I've ended up discovering sometimes that the difficulty is actually with another friend in the small group, and they don't want to say anything because they're afraid of it might be used as a weapon, or they just don't feel safe and secure for the moment. Or they might just be perfectly content. Some are just happy and quiet. They're slow to speak, not wired for public sharing. So the point is, we don't know until we know, and it might take some time to figure that out. So our job is not to force them to talk. It's to create a space where they can and may want to talk, and they're welcome to when that time comes. So how do we do that? How do we coax out the quiet kid? First off, we want to create a safe environment, not a spotlight. Create a safe environment for them, not a spotlight. So quiet students often fear being put on the spot. And so you never want to randomly single out one of them in front of the group. I've done this in front of the whole youth group before, and it's absolutely backfired on me, and I felt terrible. So never randomly single them out if you see there's somebody that just does not want to talk out loud. Instead, connect with them one-on-one outside the group time. You might say something like, hey, I love having you in this group. And if you ever feel comfortable sharing, I'd just love to hear your thoughts, because I know what you have to say is valuable. You want to make sure that it's clear that they're wanted, even if they're not verbal yet. So you want to create that safe space. Number 2, here are some low-risk ways to get them to participate. Remember, participation in your group isn't just talking, it's also engaging. So you might let them share with one person. So you could be like, hey, everybody turn and talk to a partner and answer this question. Or you might say, instead of everybody responding, ask for a show of hands. Has anybody been through this, or has anybody felt this way? Raise your hand if that made sense to you. And so you can at least get a nonverbal response. Sometimes you might give them the questions in advance because maybe they're just not good at thinking on the spot. And so like in our group, we put the small group questions up on the stage at the end of the lesson. So every kid can see them. A lot of kids have phones. Encourage them, hey, feel free to take pictures of the questions ahead of time so you can read them and think about the answers if you need longer to think. And then you want to celebrate progress, not performance. Celebrate progress, not performance. The goal isn't public speaking. And students aren't more spiritual just because they talk more. So the goal isn't public speaking, it's spiritual engagement. And when the quiet student shares, you want to thank them quietly and sincerely, but don't over-celebrate them in the spotlight. That might actually make them retreat a little bit. So you want to affirm it, but don't make such a big deal of it that it just backfires and they get more introverted. Probably, at least the first times around, what they want is to know that they have the freedom to share without there being too much light on them. So celebrate the progress. Measure growth by their comfort level and their consistency and their connection, not by their word count. Now, remember this. Some of our best current adult leaders in our church were once the quiet kids in youth group. They were there, they were faithful, but they did not want to be on stage. They did not want to be the center of attention. And then they just became these incredible leaders as they grew up. Some took longer to delay. Some of them just still don't like to be in front of people, but they are carrying the load of the church. And some of our current students may barely talk now, but if we give them time to grow in a place and a space, when they do speak, we know they mean it, and they're really going to blossom. So this week as you're with your youth group, lead with curiosity. Don't assume quiet is disinterest. It might just mean they need time, trust, or a different approach. So move towards the quiet students with compassion, not pressure. Be consistent and gentle and patient. And remember, you don't need every student to talk every night to have a successful small group. They just have to have the opportunity to talk. And that's your job as the shepherd of the group. Now remember, this podcast, the 5-Minute Youth Ministry Podcast, is here on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. I'm Jay Holland. I am a local youth pastor at Covenant Fellowship Baptist Church. All of this stuff is drawn out of what we are learning and training actively in our ministry. And it's our gift from our church to yours. You'll find all of this at www.youthministry.coach in blog form, as well as the links to every kind of format that you can learn it in. So if it's helpful to you, share it with a friend, share it with your church, and subscribe and keep coming back. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.